Good afternoon. I'm Laura Zervis, and I'm a registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist. And I'm so happy to be here today to provide some nutritional content, some fun recipes for lending hearts. So glad to share these with you. And we're going to prepare a lot of things today. We're going to talk about the nutritional information. I'll share with you some cooking methods and some tips. And as always, all the recipes will be on my website, laurazervis.com. So excited to get started. I always try to pack a lot into every class as much as we can. Today is no different. Today we have 4 recipes, all burgers. I thought, why don't we, sometimes our May class or the class that we have going into May, we do a lot of brunch recipes or Mother's Day or grads. And I thought, well, at all these occasions, there's always the opportunity to do some grilling. So why not do some healthier burgers, some burgers that are fun and healthy and have a nice take on them, and introduce some new flavors instead of that. Sometimes just a plain old hamburger, it hits the spot and that's what we like. But if we find that we might be putting these into our routine more often, why not try some alternatives? Why not try some different sauces, dressings, even the protein? Why don't we play around with that a little bit? And we'll talk about all of those things today. So let's get started. Not a lot of time. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is today we are going to try some different cooking methods. And just because I can't take you outside with me, so we will do some of our burgers here in the oven. We'll do some on the stove, in the pan, fry them. But grilling them is probably best. Maybe even broiling them as well. So we will see what we decide to do there. But let's get started. I'm going to start with our first one, which is because I had to take all of those proteins out. We're going to start with our salmon burger. And what's fun about this burger, if you get some type of salmon out, or you get a crab cake, or you get some servings of fish out, sometimes it's served with a remoulade sauce. So I thought, why, instead of putting our remoulade sauce on our salmon burger, why don't we put it in our salmon burger? Many versions of remoulade, if you haven't had it before, it's a mayonnaise base, spicy condiment, has cayenne pepper in it, lemon, hot sauce, sometimes pickle juice, cumin, paprika, and it's really spicy. It's a good complement to those items that we've discussed, like the crab cakes or a salmon patty, or any fish really would be very nice with that. So we're going to put that on the inside. And let me tell you about the other recipes we're going to do too. We're also going to do a turkey burger today. Actually, we're going to do a chicken burger. And I'll tell you the backstory behind that one. And this one, sometimes they tend to get dry. And instead of, just grilling it and adding, condiments on the outside, I thought, why don't we add something to the inside to keep it nice and juicy for us? So what we're going to do is we're going to add green chilies and cilantro to that. So that should be exciting. And then I made a little salsa. So I'm going to tell you how I made that one. And then we're also going to do a bison burger, because I just want to talk about the health benefits of bison. And that is going to be the one that is going to be closest to our beef burger, but many nutritional benefits to that. So just want to discuss that. And then our last burger is going to be a plant-based burger. Many variations. We've done so many bean burgers in our class. We've done black bean burgers. We've done a quinoa black bean burger. I was going to try to do a different type of bean today, but due to whatever issues, there was not many beans available to me at my grocery store. So we are going to go with a black bean, but it's going to be black bean, mushrooms, and some other vegetables that I think you'll enjoy. And that'll be our plant-based one. So we've got a fish, we've got a poultry, we've got a red meat, but that's very lean, and we have a plant-based. So a lot of fun today, and we're going to talk about kinds of cooking methods, and I have a few gadgets that I'd like to show you too. So let's get started. So we'll start with our salmon. I'm going to adjust my camera. I did buy some nice fresh salmon yesterday. It had the skin on it, so we're going to remove that together so you could see how that is done. I don't recommend leaving it on for this. If I was grilling it or broiling it, I do like to leave the skin on it. It helps that fillet stay intact. And then you could just pull it off. But I don't think we are going to want the skin and perhaps some scales in our burger. So we're going to remove that. So let's get started here. And I will show you all the prep that we have for that too. Let me get my chef's knife. So what we're going to do is, let me adjust my camera so you could see, and I just have 2 pieces of salmon here. It's about 10 ounces. And it's nicely defrosted. I took it out this morning. Remember, the kind that I bought was in the individual cryovac packaging. You want to make sure that when you're defrosting this, that you remove it from that bag. Remember, there is that harmful gas in there. So when you're defrosting it, take it out of the bag, put it on a plate, then you could cover it with something. It's nice to do that in a glass dish with a lid. That's probably the best option. But anyhow, so you can see I have my skin on here. And again, the skin has already started to peel. So what we're going to do is just grab that edge where it started to peel. And it's nicer when you have the whole fillet available to you, because you could hold the tail and do this. So I'm just going to try to hold this bottom piece. So we don't want to lose our salmon. Salmon is, like all food, very expensive. So we want to make sure, whoops, didn't get to see that, but that we minimize our waste. So there we go. There's our salmon skin. And there's our salmon. And it's okay if you still have some of this gray on here, but we don't want to have that skin. And let's see, we could just get rid of this little tiny piece. And just have that off of there. So that looks good. I do have a few scales on that. I'm just going to rinse off my knife. And again, if you missed that because my camera was being a little funny, we're going to just try to find an edge where the skin, like I said, if this was a whole salmon fillet, you would lay it down flat, put your knife flat at a little bit of an angle, and then just slide down. But I think we could get started right here in this corner. And again, hold that, secure that down, get your knife as flat as possible. And the other thing, when you have a fillet, you could just let your sharp knife do all the work. Just a little bit of salmon on this one, which I will just, since we're going to be breaking our salmon apart anyhow, we could go ahead and just put this in our bowl. But see, you just have that little bit of salmon skin. So we're going to put this, well, we could, I was going to say, we could break it apart with our fingers is probably the best. So I'm just going to break this apart. We don't have to have, we don't need large pieces. We're just trying to, and we don't necessarily need to cut, but we're just going to get this out of here. If we need to, we might have to make a few cuts. Just depends. And I used a sockeye salmon because it was wild. I always like to use wild salmon. And remember, if you can also, there's variations on this. I mean, you could use a canned salmon if you want. I just like this, since we are grilling it, if I'm making a salmon patty, I like to use the can, but if I'm grilling this, I want fresh salmon. I want that good fresh salmon taste. So see if this one flakes any nicer for us. Usually we could get all that off the top flaking really nice, and then we just have to get the bottom. And again, if this was a can of salmon, you could just put it, open the can, dump it into a colander and let it drain. You don't necessarily need all those juices, but you might want to reserve those juices. We are going to add some lemon juice into this, since we are adding some breadcrumbs and eggs too. So if you do need some more, let's see here. And there's that little piece that's just skin. So it's just kind of holding that back there a little bit. So we'll just pull that right off. Okay. So there we go. We got most of that off of there. And just it's a little bit on the skin and those pieces that are less desirable. So we're just going to let that go. And I have one piece here. We're just going to chop that up. Okay. And Okay. Now that we have our salmon, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Now, it's important to know that if we were going to put these on the grill to heat your grill, we're going to just probably do ours in our skillet here. And I don't need to heat it up yet, but you would want to know that. So what we want to do next is we're going to add, let me show you what's going to go in here. We have lemon juice and breadcrumbs. I have some yellow mustard, and let me show you. You can use a prepared mustard, but I like to use dry mustard when I'm making some of these seafood recipes. I put this in my crab cakes. That's probably the biggest one that, I like to use it for, but it has a different consistency without adding extra ingredients. We have our mayonnaise. We have cayenne pepper, just a little bit of mayonnaise, a little bit of cayenne pepper. We have 1.5 eggs. Garlic and paprika, and a little bit of hot sauce. I like to use the original, the Tabasco. I think that gives it such a nice flavor. So let's go ahead and add all of our ingredients. Got our mayonnaise in there. Let me show you here. Get our mayonnaise in there first. Now the recipe on my website has a whole pound of salmon. I'm using about 10 ounces. So I did adjust my recipe a little bit. So the ingredients that you see on my website might vary a little bit, right? We're going to do our egg, and I'm just going to give that egg beat it a little bit before I get that in there. Okay. And then we're going to add our spices, our fresh garlic. You can substitute garlic powder if you don't have fresh garlic, but remember you're going to use a little bit less of it. Probably I would say a half teaspoon. We have our cayenne pepper, and we have some breadcrumbs. And I'm, like I said, I don't play around with the amount of breadcrumbs that we have, and you can see it's a little bit wet here. So we're going to probably stick with what I have. And you could see since I didn't use the whole pound, it's not going to make as many, but you'll get the idea. At least you'll see what it turns out to be. The other thing you could do too is I could put in some of the breadcrumbs and reserve, like I do with my salmon patties. If you wanted to make them more of like a patty instead of a burger, you can reserve some breadcrumbs for the outside. So you just want it to come together, and that looks like it's come together real nicely. Okay. So there's our consistency right there. That looks like it's going to stay together nicely. Okay. So let's get our plate. Oh, we're going to do a little lemon juice too. So and I just used in ours today, I used the regular paprika. Sometimes we use smoked paprika for other things. But today that smoky really imparts a different flavor. We've used it on some of our chicken dishes, and it definitely adds a lot of smoke. So I think for a classic kind of, since we're going for more of that southern taste, with a remoulade, I think we just want to stick to our classic paprika. Again, no right or wrong answers, whatever you prefer. So let's just get this together. Get it on our plate here. And I'm just going to put a small amount of oil, grease my hands so they don't stick to my hands too. And there's a couple ways you could do this. I have a scooper here. I'm just going to try to get maybe half cup servings here. I know these are half cup. So we know where a pound would give us several more. So this is going to just give us the 3, and that's fine. And what I'm going to do today too, I'm going to cook one off for us in our class. And then I'm also I'm going to cook one of them off. The other 2, I'm going to cook on the grill, and I'll post them on the site so you can see how it turns out. And I'll tell you, I will give you the cooking time for both. So we just want to, like I said, I just greased my hands a little bit just so it doesn't stick to me. Just want to flatten it out just like a hamburger patty. There you go. Just one. I also have a little hamburger form I want to show you, but since I can't clean it in between the recipes, we're just going to use it for our bison burger, I think. So you can see how to use one and how it does make things a little bit easier. So while we're talking about nutrition, there's another burger. While we're talking about nutrition, I did want to mention that don't forget that these have the omega-3 fatty acids in them. Excellent source there. We also have, these are lovely. These are really nice. Like I said, so we have our sauce on the inside. So it's not going to need too much on the outside. Maybe we'll just put a little bit of arugula on them. Okay, so let's maybe rinse my hands, and we will get one of those started, and we will start with our next burger. And I'm just going to put this in a nonstick, and I'm going to put the other 2 away for us. So let's just get a nonstick here. And like I said, if I would prefer to do these outside, but on a grill, or if I also have a griddle here, but then we have to turn on the fan and you won't hear anything I'm saying. So let's just let that heat up, and it's not going to take too long. Probably going to be about probably about 3 minutes on each side. We will check the temperature just to be certain that they're cooked thoroughly, but that should do it. So we have those. Hot sauce on there. So I'm just going to sprinkle some on each. All right. Okay, and let's just get that in there. It's going to be very delicate. All right, so we're going to let that go, and let me get these 2 refrigerated so they don't spoil. And then we'll start on our next one. Our next recipe is super easy, comes together really fast. Let me show you the ingredients. And then we'll start on our bean burger. But our next one is the turkey burger or chicken. Today we're going to use chicken. But I wanted to show you. So real simple ingredients: a jalapeno and some cilantro. And then if you don't have that, what I did today was I used the green chilies. So because sometimes people don't like the spiciness of the jalapeno. So I used a mild green chili. And that also helps retain a lot of moisture in that burger so it doesn't dry out. So let's get that prep here, and that's right next to us. So we'll get let me show you our bowl here. And then I'm going to keep an eye on our salmon burger. Coming along nicely. So in this one, I have organic chicken. And that's why I went with chicken today. I'm sorry, I keep saying turkey. I was going to get turkey, and the organic chicken was actually a better price point. So, and the other thing I like about this is the turkey that was available to me at the store was not white meat turkey. So it was a combination, and I like that this chicken said that it was white meat chicken. So that was really good. So we're going to add about a half can of the green chilies. That's about 3 ounces. And I did not drain them. We're going to add about 4 tablespoons of cilantro, and I'm going to add some, and then I'm going to add some more after we stir this together. See that? For this recipe, I don't use an egg or breadcrumbs. So it's just that green chili and the cilantro. Okay, this one we're gonna make a little bit differently. And I hear my salmon burger, so let me go check on that. Make sure that it's coming along. Looks like it's nice, but I'm just gonna give it a little look underneath here. Yeah, getting really nice. Because I really am going for a salmon burger versus salmon patty. So like I said, I will show you what that's going to look like. So I think I'm good. I held back on some of my cilantro. I think this looks perfect right here. Okay, so set that right here. This is important. What I like to do too, since so many of you would count on me for nutrition information, for accurate nutrition information, I like to make sure that all of my recipes that I give to you, the nutrition information is accurate. So what I like to do is when I make a recipe like this, then I want to make sure that I get equal servings. So for our salmon patties today, I know they're 10 ounces. I tried to keep them very similar. What I'm probably going to do is weigh them afterwards and just see, okay, are they equally 3 servings? I think they will be pretty close within a little bit. But as far as our turkey burgers go, I like to use a scoop. Number one, you could either use a scoop and level it off and see how many we get. You could also take a scale and put a nice piece of parchment paper on there and weigh out so many ounces. And then you know that you've got 8 servings or 6 servings, and that each burger has the same amount of calories, protein, etc. So first, I'm just going to check on our salmon burger. And then we're going to, we'll measure these out. Take temperature. And we're about 120. We're going to let that go a little further. Okay. So let's get our recipe for our turkey burgers. One. And I have a very big scoop today too. The other thing, and I don't know if you remember when we did our spinach feta chicken burgers, not only can we do them, we could make them like this. We also made a smaller size for hors d'oeuvres. I think this guy could be, I think this one got a little cheated there. Okay, I think we're pretty equal there. And like I said, of course, weighing them is the most accurate, but this will get us in the ballpark. Now, this is one too. Let's put our burger here. Wait. We are good. We're around 140, and that's perfect. So I'm going to take that off. You can see that, how beautiful that is. That's our salmon burger. Didn't take long at all, so that's nice for an easy weeknight meal. Put that over here. Okay. So we have our salmon burger done. We'll talk about some options with that. So now our turkey burger. This one is really important because this turkey, this chicken, my goodness, this chicken will really stick to you. So it's easier to wash off a little bit of oil than to try to get all of that chicken off of us. So there you go. Nice patty. And I'm going to put these on parchment paper and stick them in the oven. So again, just a little, we don't want to play with them. And then this is very important. If you were going to put these on the grill, you have a few options. I like to make sure, like I said, I touch them with a greased hand. That way they get a little bit of protection when you put them on the grill and they won't stick to the grates. The other thing you could do is you can use a grill pan. So either option is good. But anyhow, we don't want them. See how very little sticking to my hands. If we didn't do that, oh my goodness, it would be like cemented with chicken on you. Okay, and again, these do not need a binder, given the nature of this chicken. You know, and I typically don't use a binder in my regular burgers. That salmon burger, I think it just needs a little bit of help. So there we go. 4 patties. I will show you this and we'll get that in the oven. And let me wash my hands. Again, really nice option to have some, to have a different burger and have it also, you know, have a really nice, healthy nutrition profile. So let me show you. I mean, and this, who wouldn't want this? I mean, this is just they're gorgeous. They just have some nice color to them. They're going to have a ton of flavor. Also, before I put them in the oven, let me move this. I'm going to, this is really important. I like to do this when I have them on the grill as well. I have here a little kosher salt, and this makes a nice little crust. And then we'll also put some pepper, and I don't see my pepper mill. Give them a little bit. Okay, and then I turn them over to give them some salt on the other side too. I should have done this beforehand. That's okay, they'll be fine. But we do want to have both sides coated and flavored. And what that does also makes a nice little crust. So it's nice to have. I like to do that. Okay, we'll get these in the oven. And they're not going to take too long either. And again, a lot of these I'm just doing for ease of serving them. I want to make sure that we don't burn anything during class. So it's just a little bit easier to do it this way. So let's get started. We could do our vegetable burger next. So let's get that prep over here, and I'm excited to show you about this. So when we're using vegetables in place of, you know, we're trying to have a burger, right? And what do we get from a burger? We get that good meaty flavor. And how do we achieve that? We've talked about that in class so many times. How do we get that umami flavor with vegetables? And one of the vegetables that we always look to for that is the mushroom, right? It's going to give us that meaty, smoky taste that meat gives us with a plant-based option. So I have that. I have some black beans, just a cup. And again, I cut this recipe down a little bit, so the full version will be on the website. I have a cup of cauliflower rice, 2 eggs, about a 1/3 cup of panko breadcrumbs, a little bit of Worcestershire, like you would have in your typical classic beef burger. And we're also going to do some chopped onions and some fresh grated Parmesan cheese, and of course, a little bit of garlic. And then we'll add our salt and pepper too. So let me move this to the side, and then we will start with our prep. And then the fun thing too, there's so many different ways to have burgers, right? So you could start with your basic burger, leave it like that, and just play around with some different toppings, right? You could put avocado, grilled onions, raw onions, sauteed vegetables, different sauces, so many things to add. I have some options here I'm going to show you today. Then also, you don't have to, we have so many options too, where you could serve it on a big piece of leaf lettuce. You could serve it on a tortilla. You could serve it on a bun. You could serve it on brioche. You could serve it on arugula. So many different options to you to change that, to go from that typical basic burger to just kind of kick it up a notch. So many options available to us. So the first thing that we're gonna do, and I will adjust our camera, is we're going to mash our beans. So let's add our beans to our bowl. And I just rinsed these. I did use a canned organic bean, and I did not save the can, but I just wanted to tell you about it. It had no spices. It was just a plain bean. But if you don't have a full pantry available to you, you could always use some of this. There's a lot of spicy beans too. So, that might be an option for you. I thought, well, we'll add our own spices, but say, for example, you don't have everything. Maybe you don't have garlic and all of these things. And you don't have to be totally mashed. Like a couple times we've made, I think we made a brownie out of black beans one time, and we wanted them nice and smooth, and that's okay with this. That's not the case here. It's okay to have some whole ones mixed in here. Okay, that looks good there. So now that we have our beans in there, we're going to add mushrooms, and I did saute them before class because I didn't know if we would have time. So you're going to use about a cup of sauteed mushrooms, chopped. We're also going to add our cauliflower rice, about a cup, and I cooked that as well. And then I made sure I wanted to cook that before class, because then I drained it in a colander. If sometimes when you cook cauliflower rice, it has so much moisture in it, and that's not what we want. We don't want a watered down burger. We want the good flavor. And then we also have our garlic, about 2 cloves. And then we're going to add our onion. I have some minced red onion. And you could use white as well. I just like to use the red just for the class. And then we're also going to add our Worcestershire. And we're going to give this a stir before we add everything else. Now, this is one that could definitely be made ahead. You may want to, because there's always, you could have a hard time forming them into the patties. But I think with all of our binders that we have today, that will be fine. We're going to add our Parm cheese. We're going to add our panko. And we're also going to add our eggs. And we'll come back to that. I don't like to add it all at once. And we'll just give these a stir. There's a feel factor with all these too, like the salmon burger. Sometimes, I don't know if you've ever made bread before, but there's a way things are going to feel, and you can just see when things might be a little, they're a little loose, you might want to say. Maybe they're a little too wet, and you just have to add some more breadcrumbs, or things are just the way you want to be. This feels a little bit together, but it feels a little bit wet to me. So I'm going to just add a little bit more breadcrumbs. All right, and we're using our panko today, so let's stick with that. You could use either. I just wanted to use panko today just because we used the other one in our salmon. And you could use other vegetables too. So in the summertime, if you don't have the cauliflower available to you, you could always use you could use zucchini. You could use grated zucchini. Remember when we did that one breakfast cereal and we had grated zucchini in there? Let me see here. you know, we could get into a burger or not. Huh. I think it might need a little bit more breadcrumb. Okay, so let's make some of these together. And I think I'm also going to bake these as well. So we're going to make our patties first and then we'll transfer them to parchment. That way we don't have to worry about these. Now, for these, I would like to grill them and I would definitely recommend a grilling pan. So since we already used our other scoop, I'm going to use this one. I'm just going to use 2 scoops. 2 scoops for 1 burger. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, that was a big one. 1, 2. We'll do this one over. I think that we got a little heavy-handed on that one. I'll be the first to admit that. 1, 2. There we go. 1, 2. 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought we'd get about 6. Let's see. 1. Just gonna leave this one in here for now. 2. Okay, maybe we get like 6.5. 1. Yeah, almost like 6.5 here. All right. So again, it would be nice to weigh them too. That's also an option. So let's move our bowl over here. I'm gonna put them right on our parchment. Again, it's probably going to be a good idea to have a greased hand. So I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil to my hands. Like that. So I should have really nice soft hands by the end of the day between this and my salt, my kosher salt. Okay. There you go. 1. So again, I would like to do these on the grill. If I did them on a grill, I would use a pan because you don't want to lose all these beautiful ingredients. The one thing that's nice, the other thing that you could do also is you could pop these in the freezer for a good hour or so. And I would definitely do that on parchment paper and then you could take them out. They'll stay together better for you on the grill. But I think ours they're doing pretty good actually. So they're staying together real nicely. Then after you make them, they could be frozen at that time too. So, you know, this is something that could be frozen real nicely. I would definitely put parchment paper on it and, you know, and put it in a glass container. This is a nice meal prep item for those days that you want to be plant-based or, you know, you're looking for a nice healthy lunch or a quick evening meal for dinner because they could be popped right in the oven. So let me get that last one. Very nice. Okay. So rinse my hand and we'll get these in the oven. Also going to sprinkle a little kosher salt on these as well. More important if I was going to put these on the grill. But look at those. Look how nicely they turned out. So we're going to put this in the oven as well. And our turkey burger, my goodness, our chicken burgers look fantastic. So now we're ready for our last one, which is our bison burger. I'm gonna do our bison burger. I'm gonna do it in a cast iron. So let's just, I have a little bit of, I took some butter and we're just going to use a little bit. We're going to get the solids off of there. And since I am in my cast iron, just put, I was afraid to use it because I thought I should probably put our fan on when we do that, but I think it's gonna be okay. It's only gonna be a couple minutes. So we'll get that nice and hot while we're cooking. Except it may make a lot of noise. Maybe we'll just go more nonstick. I'm still gonna use just a little bit of clarified butter on this one. Okay, so now we're ready for our bison burger. Again, what's so special about bison burger? What's so special about bison meat? And what's really nice about bison, and when we're talking about our salmon, we're talking about the omega-3 fatty acids that it has. And what's unique about the bison burger, while it is an animal product, and we typically get the omega-3 fatty acids from fish sources, and we do have a few plant sources, but guess what? Most bison is grass-fed. Ours today is grass-fed. So it's getting, it has more of the omega-3 fatty acids in it. So it has a very nice nutrition profile. It's also very low in fat. So you want to make sure that you don't cook it too long. I've seen some recipes say to undercook it. I don't recommend that. I still think it needs to come up to 160 degrees internal temperature just to be safe. So I would still recommend doing that, especially if you have anybody that has a compromised system. You don't want to take a chance. Anybody that's immunocompromised, So we'll just get that in here. But again, very close to beef as far as protein, B12, all of those are very similar, but the main difference is that this has the omega-3s. So it's a nice option. Plus it's very lean. It probably has, let's see, about 7 grams of, 4 ounces has 11 grams of fat. So 1 ounce has 11 divided by 4, less than 3. So that puts it in the lean category, it's like chicken does too. So it's a nice option. So today for this one, we are just going to add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce to it and some salt and pepper. And the magic is going to be in this one is the beef. Plus I want to show you a few things about how we're preparing it. So let me get some more Worcestershire sauce for us. I think this makes a nice addition to it. Okay, and then we're just going to mix that in and you get that good flavor, that good smell. So this one, I'm going to show you that we'll use we're going to use our hamburger press. So let's get a nice little plate here. And I'm going to show you this. This is just one of those gadgets I wanted to use. I should tell you about the other one. Don't forget that our first gadget was the our masher for the beans. It really, you can use the back of a spoon, but you see the masher really almost macerates them a little bit better. So this is a hamburger press and it's a nice gadget to have. Let me show you how to use it. We're going to put our meat in here, then we're going to press down and it comes out real nicely. So let me show you that. And this insert allows you to change the size of your burger. So just depending on if you want a bigger burger, you're going to use this. If you want a smaller burger, you're just going to snap it into here. But either case, what I would recommend doing, and we could do it right now. We could keep them, we could weigh them and make sure that we have equal portions. So to get out our scale, I like using a digital scale. I'm going to hit that tear button. So we're on 0. I'm going to put my plate on it. And let's see. If I put my plate on here, it's telling me, all right, we are at 0. So let me just show you this. We are at 0. Oh, let's put it all on. 15.8, so just shy of a pound. So we'll just make them all close to 4 as possible. They're 4.0. No. This 3.8. And that one's about 3.7. So I'm just going to leave that go right there. So just a small variation. And we're just going to, I would first recommend probably just putting them in a ball so they even out nicely. I'm going to get these on so I can show you real quickly. We're going to, let's put our insert in. Put our hamburger in here. And then we're going to use the smaller press. So that's just really going to make a small, thicker burger. Then you could push them out and they come out like that. Okay, so that's if you want a small, thick burger. Just wanted to demonstrate that. If you don't want that, you take out the insert. And we're just going to put the whole thing in there. And this is what I like to do. So just place it right in the center. Now we're going to use this large end and you just press down. Okay, so it should get it pretty even. Look at that nice little beautiful burger there. So very nice. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle some kosher salt on both sides of this one. We'll get it cooking right away so we can it's on done on time for class. And I will just let that go for a few minutes. We'll make the rest of our burgers. Again, make it into a little ball because we want it to spread evenly. Place it in the center. Use the large end. You could get these at any kitchen store. You could get them at some of the specialty, some of those specialty, what are they called? Like the people that do in your home demonstrations, some of those type places have them. Okay. Put it right in the middle. Press down. That just comes right out. So I like to do that too. I like to do this frequently because I like to make my own burgers versus I don't like to buy them pre-made. So this is a good option because I'll buy the beef. Sometimes I'll make my own blend, maybe ground chuck, maybe some brisket. It just depends what the occasion is or what we're trying to accomplish. And then I will make a big mix of those. And then I get them into equal parts. Now you have to use fresh meat for this. You can't freeze because you can't refreeze. But this way I could freeze them. I'll put a piece of parchment in there, stack them all up, put them in a container and freeze them. So just a really nice way to ensure that you're getting equal burgers. So let me give my hands a wash and then I'm going to talk to you about a few more things. I'm going to get these burgers into the refrigerator since I didn't cook them. I want them to be out too long here. And then we'll check on our other burgers. I'm going to tell you about some sides that I made for our other burger. And we should be good on those. Let's get this one turned over because it's not going to take too long. That's beautiful. And again, we're going to cook that to 160 and that little bit of crust from the kosher salt will also help keep that feeling those juices there too. So let's look at our burgers. Let's look at our turkey burger first and let me get my thermometer clean so we could check that. Okay, so let's check that and see how that temperature is. Okay, and they are done. We could definitely, um, they're about 165, so I would definitely recommend taking them out. Let me show you how gorgeous they are. We'll get those onto a nice serving dish. They're sizzling away. And again, it's nice to throw these on the grill to get some nice grill marks on them. But it's just too hard today for class to get rid of this since we have some raw meat on here that needs to be sanitized. And I will show you. Okay, so this is our chicken burger that has the cilantro and green chilies. And before class, I made some mango salsa. Super easy to make. We took our mango, diced it up, added a little bit of our red peppers, which we already needed red peppers for another item that we were doing today, and cilantro. So I thought, why don't we just get that all made today, and just a little bit of lime juice. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of fresh salsa on that. Then I'm going to check the temperature of our bison. Since that's going to town, I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. Just give this a stir. And I don't know if you've ever made a mango salsa, but it's just such, and it makes everything really good. This would also be good on our salmon if we didn't have the remoulade on there. So we have that one. Let me check the temperature on our bison. Give it a turn. That looks done already. We have our salmon. The salmon might be nice to, even if you're not doing a bun, it might be nice to put it on a little bit of arugula. Get our salmon burger on there. Oh, wow, that looks good. And then we could add other toppings to it, maybe even some radish slices. Maybe even a little, it's always nice to think about what is in the burger. And in this burger, we had some red onion. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some red onion on top. Little nod to what's on the inside. Check on my vegetable burgers, and let's look at our bison burger just to see how that temperature is. Make sure our thermometer's clean. Wipe it off here real good with a wipe. Okay, and we are at about 127. So I am actually, we got a nice crust on that. Yeah. So I'm gonna pop this one into the oven, but just wanted to show you how nice this looks. With our bison burger, we're going to, I'm gonna put some avocado on it, piece of pepper jack cheese, arugula, and a tomato. But I'm gonna pop this in the oven right now just to get this finished. I don't think it's gonna be done in time, but it'll still be wonderful. Get that there, and let's look at our vegetable burgers. Okay, now, thing with our vegetable burgers, what temperature should vegetables be, right? So we want to make sure, oh my goodness, I wish you could smell this. It definitely has that umami flavor. Vegetables, we don't have anything hazardous in here as far as proteins, but we do have our egg in here, right? So we want to make sure that it is at temperature, and really, as long as this is above 140, we should be okay. Let me set this down, and again, look at our thermometer here. All right, let me get this wiped off. long as it's above 140, it's safe. And we are at 154, 175. So we are good to go here. 156. All right. 163. So that's excellent. So let's get that plated up. And again, so many variations with this one. If you want to keep it plant-based, you could definitely just, you know, you don't have to use a cheese with it. We could put a slice of cheese on it. I have a little bit of pepper jack here. We could definitely put that on. I've got some, let's get a nice little plate ready. And just show you what these look like. Oh, which one? Anyone, they're all good. It stays together real nicely. Look at that. So if we weren't in class, you could see how nicely it stays together too. If we weren't in class, I would have probably turned them over halfway through just so I had them brown on both sides, but they're definitely done. Definitely going to be a nice addition. What we could do with this too is we could add any of our toppings today. We could put the mango salsa on. We could put some here. Let's do some diced avocado. We could do a mashed avocado. We could do slices, dices. Okay, and then we could do a couple tomato slices with this. I have more cilantro. I have red peppers. Red onion. All of this is nice. Any kind of condiment that you could think of, we could put on here, but it has such a great smell to it already. It really smells like smoky and meaty. So I'm most anxious to try that one. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to all of them, to be honest with you. Okay, so we have our turkey burger. We have our bison burger. And again, we could do so many things with our bison burger. Probably going to put a piece of pepper jack on it. Probably some tomato. Maybe a little arugula on the side. And there you go. So I hope that you have a chance to try them. They're all going to be on my website, laurazervos.com. And we've made the mango salsa in the past. So that'll be on there. I'll have a link to that. And don't forget that mango salsa, we used it on our fish tacos a long time ago. So it was a cod that we used with a nice carb balanced tortilla. And then we had our mango salsa on that. But there's so many things that you could put. You could put mango salsa on chicken, on fish, and anything you like. And also our salmon burger. So we put all those remoulade ingredients on there, but you could still put, if you made some extra, you could always put a swipe on there, or even just a little bit of plain mayonnaise, or even a plant-based mayonnaise, or you could do a slice of cheese, however you like. The vegetable burger, it's going to be really tasty. I think you're going to be surprised. And again, these could all be put on either a regular bun, like a good whole wheat bun would be very nice. Even, to say, I don't think brioche. I don't think I want these on brioche. I think a good whole wheat bun, a good carb balanced tortilla, probably a nice leaf of lettuce, or I always like to do mine on a bed of lettuce or a bed of arugula. It lets you taste the actual burger and all those beautiful ingredients inside. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed everything. Hope you could incorporate any of these into your summer plans. And I hope you stay on the path to wellness. Keep making great choices. Thank you so much and have a great day.